phone and it shows all the mess in my craft room. Makes you look good though. Hey everybody, it's that time again. It's time for Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. My name is Deborah and I'm coming to you from here on my farm in the foothills of the Arkansas Ozarks, where I like to do all the crafts. I knit, I crochet, I sew, I quilt, I make baskets, I make jewelry. I like to do needlework, and I've got a pile of other crafts I'm wanting to learn how to do. I am also a university professor. I am a physicist, and I teach courses to physics majors as well as general education majors. I'm a docent at our planetarium, and I love to talk about women in STEM, diversity in STEM, and science literacy topics. So I also have a special Women in STEM tribute today to one of the hidden figures who recently passed away. And I am also a farmer. I am a third generation family farmer here on 170 acres in the foothills of the Ozarks, where I raise grass-fed beef cattle, I raise horses, I raise heritage poultry and show quality rabbits, and I have a rescue and retirement herd of miniature horses, miniature donkeys, a miniature mule named Pumpkin who thinks she rules the roost, and Princess Penny, the potbelly pig, protector of the poultry. And as you can tell from my sweet little co-host Willie here, who is looking exceptionally handsome with my new camera, I am fur kid mom to 13 dogs, 8 indoor cats, and an undetermined number of outside barn cats. So if any or of all of that sounds interesting to you, I hope you'll come along and join us on today's episode of Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. Okay, so I thought what I would do first is talk about the Podiversary giveaway. Thank you so much to everybody's kind comments on my 2-year Podiversary. It doesn't seem like it's been 2 years. I've surely had a good time getting to know all y'all, and I want to welcome some new people that started watching. I'm sure grateful for y'all too. I know Linnea sent some people over my way. I hope you enjoy it. I'm not for everybody, but that's okay too. But anyway, so for the 2-year Podiversary, I wanted to give away a prize that I put together from some of my favorite makers. These are all women makers. Yay, Women's History Month. These are all women makers who I support and believe in, and I wanted to share their goodness with you. So the first thing is a cute little progress keeper from Noelle at April 9 Designs. It's a little letter there with a heart on the top of it. Next is a skein of yarn. This is from Chicken Coop Dyeworks, which is Carolyn. She's down in Texas. And this is her Talons base, which is 100% superwash polewarth. And this is Black Cherry Pits is the colorway. She was kind enough to send that. And then last but not least, a beautiful bag from Charlotte at April 9 Designs, who is one of my favoriteest bag makers ever. And this is her kitty cat's, fairy tale kitty cat's bag. So that is going to be the prize. I did random number generator on the comments that were left on my video 2 times ago. My episode 2, not last episode, but the one before. And our winner for the 2-year Podiversary giveaway is Celeste Garcia. Yay! And Celeste has been with me a very long time. She was one of the first viewers, and so I'm very excited that you won. So Celeste, if you get this, if you will contact me through Ravelry or through Instagram and send me your mailing address, I would love to send you this prize. So yeah, so now let's talk a little bit about social media. You can find me on Instagram and on Ravelry as Doc Firewoman. And you can also find my farm Facebook page, which is the same as my YouTube channel name. It's Buckthorn Farms. And I post lots of articles and pictures and everything there. And I am also on Twitter, although I've kind of given up Twitter for Lent, I guess you could say. But I am on Twitter, but I will warn you, especially to the new folks, I am a fairly socially liberal Democrat. And Twitter is where I really cut loose with my thoughts and feelings about things of the political nature. I tend to hold it down to a dull roar elsewhere, although when it involves science, I ain't shutting up and knitting for nobody. And also when it involves injustices to people that I love and care about. So if you're a just shut up and knit kind of person, I ain't for you. Anyway. anyway, because I don't think that that's appropriate. I think that we got things we need to talk about, and if it's harming people that I care about, I'm going to take up that mantle. So, you've been warned. So hopefully that's okay with you. If not, then I hope you enjoyed the minute you were here. Anyway, so that's where you can find me. So let's talk just a little bit about some make-alongs here. Let me pull them up because I'll forget them, because as Nikki pointed out, I got a lot of them. In the meantime, I'll talk about other people's make-alongs. I know Vanessa is doing the stripey mal. It's not self-striping, it's the stripey mal, where you can make things that are striped. It can be self-striping, it can be purposely striped or whatever. I know that that's going on. Laura from Crocheting Hoovian, I believe, is doing an all things self-striping mal, because I know a lot of people are doing the Desert Vista Dyeworks, and more power to y'all for knitting a pair of socks a month. I'm proud for you. That ain't my jam, but I'm glad it is somebody's. Nikki and Heather over the Knick Knack Knits podcast have several make-alongs going, including the Scrappy make-along and the Sock It To Me make-along, where you make socks or you make scrappy items. And then we are going to be jointly hosting the Blizzard in July, which is crocheted snowflakes. And I've got some new books to share with you about crocheted snowflakes. And then last but not least, Kirsty from Grenade Creations is having a stash down make-along similar to what I'm doing, but hers is you can curate by weight or just by a photograph. With mine, it's kind of on the honor system. I'm going to trust you, but we'll talk more about that just very shortly. So, okay, so let's go over here and we'll talk about my make-along, Jamarama make-alongs. Okay. Anyway, so I'm a little make-along mad, I guess you could say. I am I like doing make-alongs that I want to be in. So I have make-alongs of things that I want to be in. So the first one is, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? And it is time to post your progress on your January, February elephants. I'll give you a few days to do that. And then I will draw for the elephant prize for the first 2 months. And you can declare a new elephant, or you can stick with the one you have, but you have to declare for March, April now. So get on that thread and do that. In the chatter thread is where you want to do that. Then we have Creature Feature, which is up and away until the end of this month. So I got to get on the stick and finish my dragon. I did make some progress on it. And I know Nancy finished Toothless, so now my dragon's got to get on the ball and get done. Then we have the Science Sprinkles Mal, where I post information about science, and you can take any inspiration you want to from a science topic. Practical Magic is where we're making things for the home, or things that have a practical use beyond being worn. Kit or Get Her Done is what it sounds like. Kit or Get Her Done is where we are finishing up kits that we have that we need to use up, and because we like to buy new kits. The String Along is where we're making things out of crocheted thread, or I'm going to allow cross stitch if you want to do that too. And then the Bust a Move Stash Down, which is the stash down make along for me. If you use a pattern that you had before January 1st and yarn you had before January 1st, you can enter that thing twice. So that's kind of a rundown of the make alongs. So anyway, I hope that sounds like fun to you. Everybody that's new, jump on over there to the Ravelry group and enter. That is the only place I run my make-alongs, unfortunately. So if you're not on Ravelry, I'm sorry that you can't participate, but I do giveaways that are other media-based, so hopefully you can jump in on that when I have them. I don't do a lot of them, but when I do have them. The lady from the Autumn Acorn posted a thing about podcasts, and she was like, what do you think about podcasters who do this, 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 and this? And I was like, oop, I'm guilty of all those charges. I talk more than 30 minutes. I have personal stuff in here. I don't just talk about knitting and crocheting. I'm like, well, y'all kind of know what you're getting into with me. And one of her people posted, you be you. That's why we watch you. And I'm like, so glad that they said that, because I'm sorry, it would be boring. I like other stuff, and I'm going to talk. It'd be boring for me to record it. It'd be boring for y'all to watch it, and Willie goes to sleep enough as it is, so he would just be asleep all the time. So anyway, we're going to move on now and talk about finished objects. Okay, so for finished objects, I have a couple of different things to show here, and one that I just have photographs of that I'll tell you about in just a little bit. And it is not technically finished, but it is, my part in it is finished. So the first thing is I have some more little face scrubbies. These are the Sunshine Face Scrubby. These will be great little cotton pad scrubbies to put on like toner or whatever for your face. So I have 3 more of these. I would have had a lot more of these because I found this scrap of yarn, but for whatever reason, Fizzy, my kitten, well, she's not a kitten anymore, but she was my little kitten that used to go to work with me every day. She was obsessed with this yarn, and she found the last little ball of it and strode it all over the house. I mean, it was wrapped around every leg of everything that I own, including my leg, and I just said, to heck with it, and gathered it up and threw it in the trash. Because I had already picked it up twice, and I was like, I'm not picking that up a third time. But anyway, so I made 3 more little face scrubbies there really quickly. And those are the Sunshine Face Scrubby, and I will link all of these patterns down below. Or if you follow me or are friends with me on Ravelry, you can find them there. Because I do try to keep my project pages up. Oh, I've got the wrong block here. Ooh, I'll go get it. One momento. Okay, I have finished the last block. Yay! The last block for my Marine Life blanket. This is the seaweed block. It is 20 of 20. So now what I am doing is I am taking the ones, because I use just all different kinds of scrap yarn for this, and so some of my blocks were smaller than others. The biggest block that I had was my crab block. So what I'm doing is I'm sizing all of the blocks to match the size of it. So here is the smallest block that I had, and I just did 3 rows of double crochet around it, and then the final joining row of single crochet, and now it's the same size as the crab block. And I will put a picture in. I took the blocks to work and I laid them all out so that you could see them. And so I could arrange them in the order that I wanted and decide kind of on what color that I wanted to join them with. And I decided that I would join them with lime green. And so I'll show you the yarn that I got to join them with. This is just a Red Heart Super Saver bundle that I got off of Amazon. And I decided to use lime green because I thought it would really make the blocks pop. Plus, if you look at the picture, there's some lime green little pops throughout the quilt or in the quilt. So I thought that this would be a good choice for joining them. So I am now going through and tying the backs and trimming them up, and then making the blocks all the same size. And then I will make strips to join them with. And then just like you would sew them together, I'll put right sides together, either slip stitch or single crochet, probably slip stitch them together, put it together like a quilt, like a blocks on a quilt. And then I'm going to try to find a king size fleece blanket to put on the back of it. So yay, I'm getting close. That is my elephant for the Eat the Elephant Mal, and I will be continuing that elephant on into the new 2-month segment until I get it finished. And then I'm going to work on a piece of needlework that I have, which will be my next elephant. Okay, so that's that. Now, the other finished object that I have, I don't have with me because I have a friend, Billy, who I have been friends with for, we figured up 32 years. We have been friends since our early days of college. And he is in the SCA, which is the Society. Okay. The Society for Creative Anachronism. Let me get this picture that fell down here. And what that is people who reenact historical garb and activities and things like that, and you study historical, like it be science, it can be weaving, it can be baking. He is a culinary instructor at the culinary school down in Little Rock, and he also is his area of expertise is breads and artisan baking. So he goes to this as a professional development thing as well, where he teaches classes and he studies medieval foods or Renaissance period foods. His persona is a Venetian, I believe is a Renaissance era Venetian. I'm not quite sure what the era is, but he's been in it a really long time. And if you achieve certain levels and you get elevated to different status, I guess, and he is being elevated to laurel, which is very important, apparently, and he needed fancy garb. So he decided, well, come here. Come on. He wanted to make himself some fancy garb. Billy can sew, but Billy is not, there are certain things he's not done. And so he needed help. And I used to do costuming for a Celtic musician. And so what happened was he had posted, of course, there's a big event coming up. It starts like next weekend. And he waits till, a month before to start thinking about all this garb. And it's not simple. And there are people who publish historically accurate patterns. And you can either hand sew them or you can machine sew them. And I was like, if I have to hand sew, I'm out. But I watched him post mourning his fate on Facebook one Saturday, off and on all day Saturday. And I finally took pity on him about 5 o'clock Saturday evening, because he said, I will buy pizza and alcohol. Well, I don't drink, but I'm in on the pizza. So I messaged him and I said, have you had anybody take you up on your offer for sewing help yet? And he was like, no. And I'm in over my head. And I said, well, I used to do costuming for a Celtic musician, and I can come tomorrow and help you. So I packed up my sewing machine and all my stuff, and off I went. And he needed the top part of this outfit is, there's a doublet, which is like which is a shirt, and then a jerkin, which is the top part that goes over the top of it like a vest. They were both very elaborate. They were both lined, and the jerkin had piping, which had to be handmade. So the first Sunday I went, I made 200 feet of piping out of some silk and some cord. And so first I cut bias strips, then I made bias tape, and then I made the piping, and then I put the piping on the jerkin, and then I lined it, and it had all these tabs. I mean, it was beautiful. And I'll put a picture of it in here of the whole setup. Now he is going to do the buttonholes by hand, and I'm like, okay, more power to you. And he's going to sew the lining on the doublet up by hand. So the second Sunday I went, I got a little bit of a late start because Trixie pulled a stunt that had to be taken care of, which I'll talk more about in farm life. But I got the doublet done, except for sewing the sleeves up, which had to be hand sewed. Basically, anything that didn't show could be machine done, but anything that was going to show probably needed to be hand sewn. Although I did have to do some top stitching on the jerkin, but I stitched in the ditch, so it didn't show. So he was okay with that. So I was very pleased to get to help him. We've been friends for years and years and years. And so I was pleased to help him. We did some trading. He's going to help me bake a better loaf of bread for the fair. So I think that's a fair trade. So I didn't have as much crafting time the last couple of weeks because I spent 2 Sundays all day, several hours in front of a sewing machine down there helping him with that. But I'm very proud of him for being elevated to laurel, and he was very gracious, and he thanked the people that helped him, and he did buy me pizza and pizza. So yay. So anyway, so that's all of my finished objects. So now we're going to move on and talk about whips. Okay, so for whips, I've got some yarny whips and I've got some stitching whips that I'll share. The first thing that I will share is my socks. Okay, so these are the Vagary socks by the Knitting Expat. These were part of her Wanderlust Sock Club for 2018. And I am currently carrying those in my April 9 Designs 2 at a Time sock sack. Here, it's very beautifully made. It's got a nice little handle on it. And I am knitting these out of String Theory Colorworks yarn in a colorway called, I called it wrong last time, it's W49B, which is a supernova remnant of a type B, 1B or 1C supernova remnant. And it is a self-strapping sock yarn, and this is where I'm at. Okay, I only work on these at school, basically. These are my meeting knitting, planetarium knitting, before class, a few minutes before class knitting. So I'm almost to the point where I'm ready to mark for the heel. I'm going to try to do an afterthought heel on those because Vanessa has encouraged me to try to learn to do that. And I am marking where when I showed them last time, I was down here with my little panda narwhal. That's Charmed and Dangerous, little progress keeper there. That's where I was at the last time I showed them. So I've done this much, just taking them with me, just having them with me at work. And they're out of sync, but who cares? I do not. So, but anyway, so those are my vagary socks. Making good progress on those. And my gauge is nicer now. That's on a 1. So my gauge is nice, and I'm proud of that. Then in my Homebrew Fiber Co bag, that was a gift from Vanessa. She sent me this for Christmas, and I just think it is so beautiful. I am working on the Calaveras shawl. The Calaveras shawl was part of the Celtic Year Shawl Club from Woolly Wonka Fibers. And this is the shawl by Lori Law. This is the pattern by Lori Law. And it is a one skein beaded shawl that is, I don't know what shape you would call it. I call it sort of an arrow. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but that's what it looks like. And it has a beaded spine. So the spine, there's one bead per right side row that goes right up the middle of the shawl. It is being knit in this beautiful colorway called Spiced Apple by Woolly Wonka Fiber Company. And I put some time in on this. So this is something I have to work on at home. I cannot work on this at school because it has the beading on it, and I have to keep the beads handy. So the last time I showed it, it was down here. I had only done this much, so now I am up here. I am on my second repeat of 5 of the skull lace. Okay, so there'll be, and it's a 36 row repeat because it's a 25 row or 24 row lace, and then a 12 row garter stitch break in between. So, and you can see the beads in there. So, yay. So, I'm very happy with how that's looking so far. And so, I will continue to work on that. And try to get that done because I think it's really pretty. And I think the shape of it, I can enter it as a scarf in the fair. So, get that done. I need to pick my changes shawl back up. It's sitting right over here in its bag, and I need to pick it back up. So, maybe I'll do that tonight. Maybe I'll finally get onto that next section where I've got to put stitches on hold. Do you ever do that when you know you've got stuff to do like that coming up, and it kind of makes you just go, you kind of vapor lock? Okay. Now, on my dragon, I am making the Water Dragon by Crafty Intentions. And I made some good progress on him. You sort of make all of the parts, and you start putting them together, but I haven't put his head on yet, but I do have his body finished. I'm just knitting or crocheting this out of some big box store acrylic yarn. So I have his body finished. He'll have a piece of wire in his tail eventually to give it some structure. And then I have his head done and his belly patch. So his head is here. So it will go like so. All right, with his big, beautiful Suncatcher craft eyes there. You can see those. They're the mermaid eye set. And then I have started on the other color yarn for his contrast belly patch. So here is his belly patch in this variegated yarn. So it will look something along the lines of that when I put it on. Okay, so Dragon Thursday's coming up, so maybe I'll put some time in on him on Thursday. So let me get his, drop the little head there, pick that up. And I've been keeping the head and the belly pad, the pieces in this little pouch here, so That way I don't lose anything of critical importance. So I'm making progress on that, and her patterns are very well written. It's very easy to follow her patterns, and they're very detailed. So if you're intimidated by amigurumis, I mean, hers are complicated, but if you're ready for your next level of amigurumis, I highly recommend Crafty Intentions patterns. I have not put any time in on my heart doily. I kind of left it back here also and didn't really work on it. So what I have to show now are some stitching whips. The first thing that I will show will be Let's Gallop. Let's Gallop is a pattern by Ursula Michael. It's by the Imaginating company. So it's the horse with all the words. And I am doing a rainbow fade on it for the Rainbow Riders. I thought it would be cute to do that. And so I am now, oops. Well, I don't want to lose my needle down in there. Where'd it go? Okay. I am now on the teal blue. So I'm over halfway done on the horse. So I'm just started the teal blue or the teal green, whatever color you want to call it. I don't think I'm going to have any trouble seeing that yellow section either. So it's got burgundy, fuchsia, red, orange, gold, yellow, lime green, hunter green, and then I just started the turquoise or the teal right here just to see how it would blend in. So I'm making good progress. I've got 8 colors done, 6 to go, I think is where I'm at. So what I'm doing is I'm choosing colors that represent the different horses at the barn to finish this up with. So I'm really pleased with how that's coming along. Okay. Then I have Miss Betsy's pillowcases. Miss Betsy's pillowcases are a kit that I found in a thrift store. They are by Busilla. They are 2 magnolia pillowcases. I'm still working on the first one because I only put about 1 night of work in on these. So I'll pull my grime guard back a little bit where you can see here. So I am this far on those. So I started working on the magnolia part. I've got all the leaves done on this side, the stem, and I'm working on the white part of the magnolia now. You can kind of see there. And I was a little concerned about my stitches not being even, but Linnea, who made me that beautiful table cover, said they kind of even out when you wash and press it. So I'm hopeful that that's what's going to happen. I don't remember who did this needle minder or this grime guard, but I will look it up and post it below because I ordered them through Etsy, so I can just look it up that way. And I've got these in a wooden hoop that clamps to my table that I found at a thrift store. So anyway, so there's that one. Once I get that one done, I've got the other one to do. So got to get a shake a leg on those and get those worked on as well. But those go fairly quickly because they are so big. The stitches are so big on them. Okay. Then let's see. In my April 9 Designs bag here, those other 2 were just in me-made bags. But excuse me. Whew, okay. No, it's not coronavirus. It's dust from the barn. In my April 9 Designs bag, her stitching bags here, I have my Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery Animal Almanac Stitch Along, and we are on month 3. I got month 2 finished and am now on month 3. So month 2 is Rennie the Fox, and now month 3 is Leap the Frog. Isn't he sweet with his little rainbows there? And they kind of named him for it being leap year. So I'll show you where I'm at on that. You can see Rennie the Fox up there that I completed. And then I've just gotten started good on Leap the Frog there. Okay. Again, I don't remember who did these grime guards, but I know that this is Kim's Needles Minders. These are really inexpensive and really good quality needle minders, so check those out. But this is Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery Animal Almanac Stitch Along. It'll be going for all of this year. You can still purchase the pattern, I believe. I don't know if they have any more kits available, but this is 14 count Ada, and it's got kind of a tea-washed effect on it. So that was what I chose, or you can get a 28 count Cashel. But I wasn't quite ready. And I realized I made a mistake in my little frog here. I don't know how I misread that symbol there, but I've got the wrong color there at the bottom of the cloud. So I've got to pick that out tonight or tomorrow and put in the correct color. Okay, so I got that done. Put that away. Then, this is a bag by So Much to Love. This is, they're also on Etsy if you want to find their bags. So Much to Love. It's little doggies, and they're very well made. These hold a good, these are good for 8-inch Q snaps. They will not hold a 12-inch hoop, but I have a smaller hoop in here. I began working on the Thistle Stitches bell pull that I bought on the Isle of Skye almost 20 years ago. So it was a little kit that came with all the things. I even have the wooden bits to put it together once I complete it. And so I began working on that, and I am just getting started on that. So I just started the knot work on that there. It included everything. I believe this is 18 count fabric, if I'm not mistaken, on this one. And then my RBG needle minder. My brain just froze up there. It also came from Kim's Needle Minders. So this kit had everything in it, and it sat waiting patiently for me for almost 20 years, and I decided I would finally start it. So there's that. Okay, then my other stitchy whip is in another beautiful April 9 Designs bag. This one's got foxes on it, and she knows I'm a sucker for some foxes. This is the Moral Compass by Bendy Stitchy Designs, and this was her February charity pattern, and I sat down the other night and made quite a bit of progress on this. So this is on 28 count Monaco that I'm doing it over 2/2, and this was deep stash. I bought this. I don't even remember when I bought this, but I know I bought it before I moved to Oklahoma in 1992. And I bought it because it was on clearance sale, if I remember right. Yes, it was $2. I paid $2 for this because I also got a pink one. So this is a blue Monaco, and I'm stitching 2/2 there on that. And yeah, I could have moved this and saved some of this fabric, but I'm just using it. I'm just trying to get it out of my deep stash. That is a needle minder from, let me see, I think I saved the tag in here. If I didn't, that came from my local needlework shop, the Stitcher's Garden. And I don't remember the name of the person that did it, but I've got their tag in my other bag there. So you can go on their website, A Stitcher's Garden, and you can find it, I think. And they just came back from market. So they have many, many beautiful things. If you want to spend some, if you want to be parted from your money, go check them out. Okay, so those are my stitching works in progress and my yarny works in progress. So we're going to move on and talk about future crafting. Okay, so for future crafting, I'm going to show you some yarny ones and some stitching ones. Some of the stitching ones I already showed you, but now I have the materials to make them with, so that might help visualize them a little bit. I've got in my Tesla Knits Voodoo Ladies bag here. I want to learn to do double knitting. And Shirley, who is a master of double knitting, said start with something simple like squares. So I found this Kitty Crowd cowl by Knits, which is mostly squares, and it's double knit. And then I was gifted two skeins of Let Lopey. I was given this blue and this cream color. And so I thought that those would be an excellent choice for this. So I'm going to try it. I did cast on already, but I haven't gotten very far into the double knitting. But I did find a great tutorial by Arna and Carlos. If you Norwegian purl like I do, you can double knit, okay? And because they do. And so I was watching that video to get a sense of how they manage their yarn so that I could do it too. And so, yes, so I am I just cast on basically there, and am going to try to pick that up soon and work on that. So that is a fibery goodness, knitting future crafting. Then also too, I have another knitting future crafting. This is a kit that I bought a while back from Craftsy, but I'm feeling the need to make a sloth. It's a knitted toy, and there was a kit that you could purchase, and it's the sloth. So, the way it's knitted, I believe you can magic loop it. I don't think you have to do DPNs on it, which is a bonus to me, because I have a hard time managing DPNs. But at any rate, so here you go. So I'm going to make that. And it was a kit, so it came with the yarn already. So I'll show you that real quick. It is, I chose the colors. You could choose different variations. So I chose the darker brown and sort of the creamy, well, the cream, the cream color. And that is in one of my kitty cat bags from Fat Bottom Bags. It's kind of a paint by numbers kitty cat bag. Okay, so that is another future crafting that I want to put high on the list of things that I want to start. And I've got my Fox Paws bag still sitting right there. So as soon as I finish something, I'll pick up one of those. I don't know which. Okay, I showed these patterns last time, but I went to the Stitcher's Garden and purchased the materials to make that I needed to make them. So the space sampler will be my next, probably my next needlework start, major needlework start. I have another little itty bitty one that I want to start too that was a free pattern. But this is the space sampler. This is by Jerry Ambrose off of Etsy. It was a downloadable pattern off of Etsy. So I went to the Stitcher's Garden and I've purchased all my floss, and I purchased black, because I'm a glutton for punishment, black 25 count. So I'm going to stitch over 2 on this. All right. Miss Linda at the cross stitching store said you need to put it over something white so you can see your holes. And I agree. And have a very good light. But luckily I was gifted by Mary a wonderful lot. And so that will be what I use for that. So that is probably going to get started sooner rather than later. I just bought a new Q-snap, and that's what's going to go in it. And I'll start that sooner rather than later. Then I had showed the Halloween sampler. I already have the threads and all the embellishments for that. So I picked up the linen to do it. So this is a 35 count Peeps Lost Sheep is the name of the colorway. And I love when she cuts your fabric, she tells you what it's for, because that helps me remember. So this is my piece for that. So we will start that sooner rather than later. And then last but not least, the one that I'm probably the most excited about is the Haunted Autumn Mouse in a House. Yeah, I've had this forever, and now I have the fabric to make her. So I've got the orange for the mousy and the brown. This is called, what colorway is this? Oh, it's just called raw. It's raw linen. And these are both 35 or 32 count. These are both 32 count Belfast linen. So, yay! And I have all the threads already in the embellishments for her, so I will start that sooner rather than later as well. So, there's my stitching. I do have one more that is two more. This is more of that Deep Stash Monaco that I bought a bajillion years ago. It's 28 count. There is a free pattern right now going around by Penelope's cross stitch, and it's some bunny rabbits. It's just the silhouette of 3 bunny rabbits sitting with their tail sitting on a hill for Easter, I guess. And so I have this pink Monaco, and I thought that'll be perfect for that. And I'm going to try to use it more wisely because that's not a very big pattern, so I'm probably just going to use a portion of this, and then I'll have some left over of it. But why not? It's a quick. It looks like something you could stitch literally in one evening, even me, as slow as I am. The last one is Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery is starting a new stitch along for in April for the animals of the Chinese zodiac, and they had kits. I know, but you know what did me in? The needle minder. Oh my gosh, look at that. Now you say, Deborah, you could have just bought that needle minder. You didn't have to do the stitch along. I know. I know. But I have the kit for that as well from Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, so don't judge. Anyway, so those are some future crafting things. So now we're going to move on and talk about acquisitions. And I went to the cross stitch store and it was bad. I'm not going to show everything, but it was whoo lordy. Okay. Yeah. So, and I have some cool books. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so the time has changed, which is wonderful, but the sun is starting to go down, so I'm going to kind of hurry through this. I bought some patterns at the cross stitch store that I've been wanting to make, and then I put in an order for ones from Market. I didn't buy everything that I wanted because I had enough sense to know that I didn't need everything all at once, but just maybe most everything. Jules got me hooked on Sleepy Hollow, so I did pick that one up. Probably will not start this one until I finish the ones in my future crafting. And then I won't show everything I got. I'm going to kind of spread it out. The other thing that I had to get was, to go along with my Autumn Mouse in a House, is they had the Autumn Mousey scissor roll, where you roll him up to store your scissors in there. Is that not adorable? Oh, that was so sweet. I just had to get that. So those are my two of my patterns that I got at the cross stitching store. And this one came with the embellishments pack also. So got those. And then we were online on the Zoom room, which we have officially on Thursdays and Sundays. Although this Sunday, the 15th, we probably will not have it for reasons that I will talk about in the farming segment. It's exciting reasons. But we were talking about, Shirley was talking about Irish crochet, and I went, I don't know what that is. And so I got to reading about it. So I picked up a couple of books about Irish crochet because it looked interesting. I thought it'd be fun to know how to do that. And then to prepare for the blizzard in July, I picked up some circulars on snowflakes. So I got these two books, or these three, excuse me, books on crocheted snowflakes. Because you can never have too many snowflake patterns, right? So that's pretty much all the acquisitions. I am not buying any yarn right now. I'm trying to use up what I have, but I'm making up for it by buying cross-stitching stuff, apparently. Although I did buy the yarn to do my blanket with, because I didn't have enough of any one color that I have to do the lattice work in between, but I already showed that. I will show a couple of Charlotte's cross-stitching bags without stuff in them so you can get a sense of them. This is a bag called Bear Hugs. This is still in the packaging. She does the clear panel in the front and then the zipper, and this fits a 12-inch hoop. So I think this one might be actually almost big enough for a Q-snap. Or she makes the square kind like this with the handles. So go check her out. She really makes beautiful, beautiful bags, and just tell her I sent you over to check her out. She doesn't sponsor me in any way. I just think her products are fabulous, and I wanted to give her some love because she's been having a bit of a struggle in her personal life lately. She's had some major loss, and I wanted to support her as best as I could. So go check her stuff out. Okay, that's all the acquisitions I'm going to share with you this time. So now we're going to move on and talk about science. Yay! Okay, so I've turned my light on since it's starting to get a little darker outside. So what's going on on campus? We're Wondering if the coronavirus is going to affect us. Several big schools have already closed down and are doing, and so we're told we need to be prepared to do things online for at least a week, possibly two, just in case we need to close down to kind of stop the spread of the coronavirus. Am I freaking out about the coronavirus? No. I always wash my hands. I keep my immune system up. I try to get plenty of sleep. So I'm treating it like I treat the flu. So, you know, but they are concerned about it, I think, in a way because of the spread of it. But use your common sense, people. You don't need to rush out and clear the store out of toilet paper. You know, make sure you got enough to last you 2 weeks, and that's it. This ain't the apocalypse, y'all. But anyway, so we're worried about, you know, that being a possibility. Plus, I just sent in abstracts for the Mid-America Regional Astrophysics Conference the first weekend of April, and there is a possibility that that will be canceled because there have been several big meetings already canceled this spring. But I've got 2 students that are going to that to present. We are plugging away on our radio telescope grant, trying to get it written up so we can apply for some money to build the radio telescope. We're getting close to getting ready for Super Science Saturday. So that'll be exciting if we can get, you know, when that comes up, that'll be a lot of fun. And also, too, you know, I've been talking with some students about what their next steps are, what their next plan is. And I was talking with my student Luke, and he's like, I don't know what I want to do next. Oh, he knows what he wants to do. He wants to go to graduate school, but he's a little bit burned out. And I said, why not go part-time and finish your math degree? And that'll keep you kind of in the habit of school, but you'll have a little bit of a break. And he can continue to do research with me, and we're going to try to get him a publication going. And so that will be, I think he's going to go that route, which I'm glad. I don't want him to get somewhere and be so burned out he can't do well. You know, other than that, we're just kind of plugging along at school, trying to get things done toward the end of the semester. It's that time of the semester where everybody's kind of tired. You know, the students are tired. I'm tired. You know, but it's okay. I've got good classes this semester, and I'm really enjoying them. I had a good group today for the planetarium show, which was fun. They ask a lot of good questions. And Willie, why aren't you up here? I just realized you're not up here. Come here. You want to come here? Or are you sleeping? He'll join us for the farming segment. He says he's asleep on his bed over there. So it's been going really well as far as that goes. I do need to write. Oh, you decided to join us now. Okay. I do need to write the March Science Sprinkles up. I'm hoping to try to get that done maybe one evening this week. If not, it may go up on Monday. I apologize if it's going to be a little bit late, but hopefully you've been enjoying reading those because I've sure had a lot of fun putting them up, which is exciting. Looks like Beetlejuice is not going to explode. It just burped some dust off. Doggone it. But anyway, I wanted to talk about, in my little segment today, about Katherine Johnson. She was one of the hidden figures. She was an African-American woman who was a computer for NASA, and she recently passed away at 101 years old. She was a highly intelligent woman. She spearheaded our space program with her brains and her assertiveness, and she is definitely a role model for all young women, particularly Black, Indigenous, people of color, young women who want to pursue a career in STEM. She was born in West Virginia. She went to school in a segregated environment. And even though NASA officially was desegregated, there was still, of course, that indoctrinated culture of discrimination, both because of her skin color and also because she was a woman. But John Glenn, when he got ready to do his first orbit around the Earth, he said, I don't care what your computer says, I want her to calculate it. She was the first woman there to have her name on a report because one of her supervisors advocated for her against a very discriminatory and racist upper supervisor. And so she got her name, was the first woman to have her name on a NASA report. And John Glenn said, I want her. She's the best there is. So I thought that was really, really amazing that he did that for her. as she put it, we needed to be assertive as women in those days, assertive and aggressive, and the degree to which we had to be that way depended on where you were. I had to be in the early days of NASA's women, I had to be. In the early days of NASA, women were not allowed to put their names on the reports. No woman in my division had had her name on a report. I was working with Ted Skopinski, and he wanted to leave and go to Houston. But Henry Pearson, our supervisor, he was not a fan of women. Kept pushing him to finish the report we were working on. Finally, Ted told him, Katherine should finish the report. She's done the most of the work anyway. So Ted left Pearson no choice. I finished the report, and my name went on it, and it was the first time a woman in our division had her name on something. So she retired in 1986, and she had retired as an aerospace technologist. And as she did the trajectories for Alan Shepard, the first American in space, she did the launch window for his Mercury mission. She was the backup navigation charts she did backup navigation charts once computers started doing everything in case of electronic failures, which do happen and did happen. And then when NASA used electronic computers for the first time to calculate John Glenn's orbit around the Earth, officials called on Johnson to verify the computers because Glenn asked for her specifically and refused to fly unless she verified the calculations. So I thought that was pretty amazing. She also helped calculate the moon landing trajectories. And they crowded around. They were at a meeting in the Poconos, and they crowded around a small TV to watch the first steps on the moon, which I think is amazing. And her backup charts helped save the crew of Apollo 13, if you're familiar with that. So I think that that's pretty amazing. She is definitely a role model for women in STEM, and women learning how to make a place for themselves. So she is one of the Hidden Figures women, if you watch that movie, and she is definitely someone that I think is worthy of honors and of note. So she received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2015 from President Obama, which she was definitely deserved that. And NASA noted that her historical role as one of the first African-American women to work as a NASA scientist. So definitely Katherine Johnson is someone you should know about and tell all your young women in your orbit about. So yay for Katherine Johnson and her perseverance and her tenacity. So that's all we're going to talk about for science today. So now we're going to move on and talk about farm life. Okay, so here on the farm, I guess the three big pieces of news are, I got chicks, I got Easter eggers and Delawares. I have 10 chicks. I started out with 12, but I bought 2 of the little puny ones, and they didn't make it, even though I tried to help them out. Sadly, that's some pretty long odds there, and they didn't make it, unfortunately. But I've still got 10, and they're all doing very well. The second big piece of news, I got a huge seed order from Baker Creek. So I've got seeds started, and I'm going to start working on my raised bed boxes. And I filled my potato bins with compost, and I've got to get my potatoes planted. And then the third big piece of news is I mailed in an entry form for the March 15th Arkansas Dressage Society schooling show for Flame and I. It's this Sunday. We rode Saturday. She did great. We're going to try to ride tomorrow and Thursday and Friday, and it's forecasting at least 60 to 90% chance of rain all 3 of those days. Yay, of course it is. But I decided we got to go. We got to go. We got to just get out there and go, and however we do is how we do, and that's fine. She's been just a trooper. She's been wonderful. So I'm anxious to get back in the show pen with her and redeem ourselves for that last ride that I had where we didn't do so good back in 2012. So my goal is to get through the test and keep the horse between me and the ground. And that is a win regardless of how I place. So that's our big news, I guess. Milo and Luna both got their surgeries done. Milo is now neutered and Luna is now spayed. And Milo, unfortunately, has a little bit of a cold right now. So I took him to work with me, but I finally got him to eat, and he seems to be feeling a little bit better now. My turkey is sitting on eggs. I think I mentioned this last time. I left some of the limbs from the wreath party out by my driveway, and she has made herself a nest in there, and she is sitting on about 10 eggs. I'm going to have to probably move her pretty soon, because when those eggs start hatching, I don't want the cats to find them. So I'm going to have to move her. But yay, baby turkey's possibly on the way, which will be wonderful. The man who gets me hay found someone who was willing to donate some free hay. They had some 2-year-old hay. He told them that I was feeding a whole lot of rescue animals, which I am. And they gave him 20 bales of hay. So I was very grateful for that kindness. I thought that was really sweet of them to do. So yeah, I was really pleased about that. Trixie pulled a stunt last Sunday. I was headed to Little Rock to help Billy, which is about an hour drive away, and I was about 20 minutes into an hour drive, and my neighbor called and said, Deb, because he calls me Deb, Deb, that little spotted horse of yours is in the fence. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, she's got 1 foot through the fence and is just standing there, and she's been there all night because she was there last night. I'm like, why didn't you tell me she was there last night? He said, well, can I handle her? And I'm like, oh yeah, you can handle her. So he went out there and got her foot out of the fence. I was already turned around, headed back, and he called and said, she's out, and she run off. I was going to look at her. So I came back. I texted Billy and told him I'm going to be a little bit late. I got to go check on my horse. And I get there, and she's got her head stuck in a hay bale looking at me like, what? She had one little tiny scratch where she had stood there all night. She's got some sense, because a lot of horses would have tore themselves to shreds in that fence. So I'm very grateful that she did not. But yeah, so so that was a little bit of a scare. So I was running late because of Trixie, but we got that doublet made anyway. And obviously, like I mentioned, if the show goes, now if it rains a bunch, they may cancel the show, but if it goes Sunday, I will not be on the VKN because we're going to be at the horse show. Yay! Things are starting to fare up here. All the wildflowers, little early spring ephemeral wildflowers are starting to bloom. Seeing tons of spring beauty right now. There's jonquils are blooming. My nectarine is blooming. My redbud is about to burst into bloom. I planted a whole bunch of wildflower seeds that I had gotten at an event at the Forestry Service with Miss Betsy. Miss Betsy's granddaughter's doing fine, by the way. I haven't mentioned her in a little bit. She has been sick herself, but she's doing better now. But we got those seeds, and I got to thinking, I hadn't talked about her in a while, so I thought I better mention her. Just getting ready for gardening. Got to do some cleaning up. I've decided to take on cleaning the carburetor on my push mower myself. It can't be that hard. There's got to be a YouTube video. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. It can't be that hard, right? Right? Famous last words, right? Jacob is going to come over spring break and help me a little bit with some stuff. I've got to get these cages off my trailer before Sunday. They're still on there, so I'll have to get out there one day this week. But boy, the time has changed, and I am so happy. I'm so glad we've got longer days now to do more. Well, they're not longer. They're longer in the evening time, which is when I need the daylight. Everybody's like, I don't like driving to work in the dark. And I'm like, I will drive to work in the dark if it means I've got daylight when I get home to go ride or to work on things here. I will drive to work in the dark. I will take it. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on the farm. Like I said, I've got a big order from Baker Creek that I've got to get. Some of the seeds I'll start in pots indoors. A lot of them I'll direct sow because apparently I thought I needed 72 varieties of squash. I've been listening to Amy Beth talk about all those winter squashes, and I ordered all these different squashes. I'm like, you don't need all these. Oh, well, I got them now, so I'll find places to put them. I've got a compost. I planted some in the compost last year, and they did great until the squash bugs got them. So I've been studying on how to take care of squash bugs. I think I may have damaged my new little pear tree because I think I ran the chicken pen, the movable chicken pen into it, but I'm hoping I didn't hurt it very bad. I saw where I had a little scuff on it, but I'm hoping I didn't damage the roots. And I'm going to have to keep an eye on that because I was moving the ducks out into the garden in their movable pen. Yeah, so that's kind of what's going on here on the farm. Just kind of, usual stuff. I guess, lately we just been kind of getting along because of work, keeping me tied up pretty big. But Spring break will be a busy time if the weather is with me. It's starting to get warm now and the grass is starting to put out, and boy, am I sure thankful for this time of year. I'm so glad to see the end of winter. I mean, winter is, I understand that it's necessary, but I'm always grateful for spring. So I'm glad it's here. So I think that's where we're going to end it. Willie is already asleep here, so I'm going to move on and end with a few final thoughts. Okay, so I was trying to decide what I wanted to talk about today, and there's been a lot of conversation going on about things, and we talked today, or yeah, we talked on Monday about minority representation in STEM, and I was listening to the stories of some of my minority students, and it just, this world sometimes, y'all, I don't know what to think. But I found it's amazing to me how the right thing comes along when I start, I don't even really have to look for it. It just kind of puts itself in front of me. So I found this piece, and it's by someone named Julia Myers. I'm not sure of the title of it because it's with it was a Facebook post. But I wanted to read this today and put our mind on these things. The old threads are unraveling. Get your needles ready. We are stitching a new quilt of humanity. Bring your old t-shirts, worn out jeans, scarves, antique gowns, aprons, old pockets of plenty who have held earth's treasures. Stones, feathers, leaves, love notes on paper. Each stitch a mindful meditation. Each piece of material a story. The more color, the better. So call in the tribes, the threads of browns, whites, reds, oranges. Women of all nations start stitching. Let's recycle the hate, the abuse, the fear, and the judgment. Turn it over, wash it clean, wring it out to dry. It's a revolution of recycled wares. Threads of greens, blues, purples, colorful threads of peace, kindness, respect, compassion are being stitched from one continent to the next, over forests, oceans, mountains. The work is hard. Your fingers may bleed, but each cloth stitched together brings together a community, a world, our future world, united under one colorful quilt, the new quilt of humanity. So let's get to stitching, y'all. I'm in. I know y'all are too, or you wouldn't be here. So I hope that y'all are doing good. I hope that you're meeting your crafting goals. What you think, Willie? Are they meeting their crafting goals? Are we meeting our crafting goals? Are you meeting yours? Yeah, okay. So I hope y'all are meeting your crafting goals. I hope that y'all are all doing good. I know that there has been a lot of people who've had some sadness lately, and just know that my thoughts are with you, whether you're fighting skin cancer, or you've had a loss of a loved one, or you yourself have been sick. I just, know that I'm in your corner. So until I talk to y'all again, y'all be good to each other. Take a nap if you need to. Y'all be good to each other, and let's take care of each other. And peace out, y'all. Bye. What you think, Willie? Peace out? Okay. Bye.